What's going on, everybody? Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. It is time for us to begin our discussion when it comes to the 2021 NFL Draft and how the Dallas Cowboys should handle what they are going to do. Of course, the Cowboys have the 10th overall pick. We are all very excited to see who they end up picking. And there's a bit of I don't say a coin flip, but a bit of a discussion in terms of whether this pick should be utilized in a general sense on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. Now, you look at this, and obviously the Cowboys' defense was one of the worst to literally ever play the game of football last year. There are options, obviously, and obviously we don't know what the first 9 picks of the draft are going to be, assuming the Cowboys don't trade up. I don't see why they would. In a perfect world, a lot of quarterbacks would go, and the Cowboys could actually trade out of that 10th overall pick up some more resources, some more draft capital, and draft some guys to really fill the back end of that defense, which is something that I think we would all like to see. Today, we are going to discuss the offensive side of the ball. It is possible, obviously, the Cowboys devote that 10th overall pick to the side of the ball that scores the points. We will see if that is what they end up doing, but these are the names to know, and for what it's worth, we will have some film reviews for you in the coming weeks. The fantastic Matt Minich here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel will dive deeper on each of these specific players, but right now, we wanted to give you kind of a brief 101. Now, let's start off with exactly what the Cowboys need from an overall draft perspective. You look at it as things currently stand in 2021. The top kind of 5, I think this is generally agreed upon needs for the Cowboys: defensive tackle, offensive tackle, and you can go in whatever order here. These are just 5 in totality in general: defensive end, linebacker, and safety. I think if you had me rank them, I would certainly put defensive tackle and safety at 1 and 2. Depending on the mood I'm in, whether I've had 1 or 2 scoops of ice cream, I might go one or the other. After that, I'd probably say offensive tackle. Defensive end is kind of sneaky. I realize we all have a lot of hope and a lot of ambition for Randy Gregory, obviously returning again and playing another full season. But it's hard to kind of rely on that. And linebacker, you look at it, and I mean, are you going to count on Jalen Smith? Are you going to count on Leighton Vander Esch? That's not necessarily something that I think a lot of people feel great about. So linebacker is certainly up there. Again, this is 5 just listed. You can rank them however you'd like. However you rank them, please let us know in our comments here on the YouTube channel. In terms of mock drafts, though, because it is mock draft season, we have already seen a few different mock drafts from around the draft community, around the draft circle. These are the ones that I think are important for now. So back on December 9th, this was before the season ultimately ended, Mel Kiper and Todd McShay, again, not knowing the full draft order, mocked Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons to the Cowboys. Now, Micah has kind of openly hinted on social media that he wants to stay in the blue and white. It's not, a secret that the Cowboys are blue and white. The Cowboys also have a pretty prominent Penn State linebacker on their roster for the moment in Sean Lee. We'll see what that happens. It would be kind of nice if Indiana Jones replaced one Penn State linebacker with another. There are people who aren't big on Parsons, but we'll get into him certainly when we study defensive players here on the channel. Also, SB Nation back on January 4th after the season had come to an end mocked Auburn cornerback Caleb Farley to the Cowboys, and Virginia Tech, Auburn, all the orange stripes kind of look the same, every now and then. I think that's an option. And again, cornerback is a need. I think you could really kind of list secondary as a need as a whole. Obviously, cornerback, safety, whatever the case is going to be. Todd McShay on January 7th mocked Patrick Surtain the second to the Cowboys. There's another corner. It would be nice to see that Alabama tandem, him joining Trayvon Diggs, be the Cowboys starting cornerback group. And then the offensive tackles. We're here to talk about the offensive side of the ball. Back on January 22nd, my wife's birthday, I love you, Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Media mocked Penei Sewell to the Dallas Cowboys, the stud Oregon offensive tackle. With the Cowboys situation with Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins, it's never too early to consider depth for the future. I do think that when you start talking about offensive tackles and drafting one, especially with a pick as high as 10th overall, a lot of people kind of clap back at you and say, I don't want to spend a top 10 pick on a guy who's not going to start his rookie year, and that would undoubtedly be the case with Sewell, or with the person that Mel Kiper mocked to the Cowboys as recently as January 26th, when he sent Northwestern's Rashaan Slater to the Cowboys, another tackle option for them, certainly with the 10th overall pick. But let's talk about the first one lifted, Penei Sewell, obviously coming out of Oregon. Shout out to Lieutenant Colonel Frank Slater in Ascent of a Woman. opted out of the season, and that's what makes this draft season so difficult to evaluate, is so many of these guys don't have tape from the 2020 season. And there is a debate in terms of who the top tackle in the class is. Is it Sewell? Is it Slater? Depending on your cup of tea, you could go one way or the other. But Sewell, certainly, I think if that's the pick, and him or Slater for that matter, I think that, as Cowboys fans, we should all be pleasantly pleased. Say that 5 times fast. But because, look, Tyron Smith basically didn't play an entire season, and for the last few years now has not been able to play an entire season. La'el Collins, we all, this time a year ago, we were all banging the drum that La'el Collins is one of the most underrated tackles in the NFL, not getting his due, not getting his love, and really disappointed a lot of Cowboys fans, showing up to camp out of shape, getting hurt. And so those are question marks. I mean, those were such a pinnacle for the Cowboys for such a long time that now if somebody like Sewell were to be available with the 10th overall pick, I don't know how you can say no. I mean, and again, in a perfect world, there's a quarterback there, a Trey Lance that somebody wants to come up and get. Somebody is just itching to get, for the future face of their franchise. And you can trade back a couple of spots. You can still land one of these tackles. And I don't know, but I mean, let's take a look at some of Sewell's highlights at Oregon. Again, didn't play in 2020. Very, very, very impressive. Obviously blocking for Justin Herbert there, the Los Angeles Chargers quarterback. Now, I mean, the Cowboys have a weird point of depth at tackle with Brandon Knight and Terrence Steele having played almost an entire season. I'm not saying that's great depth, but it is still depth nonetheless. And so I don't know that Sewell would even be the team's swing tackle in 2021, and that goes for Rashaan Slater as well. And these are interesting things to consider, again, because it is a position of need for the team, but how big of a need is it if they would not even be the team's swing tackle? I mean, you tell me. You shout out into the abyss wherever you're watching this right now, unless you're somewhere quiet. But even, screw it, be loud. Would Sewell or Slater be the team's starting swing tackle in 2021? Because I don't know. And look, I'm not trying to say or intimate or fool you and say that Brandon Knight or Terrence Steele are awesome, incredible options. They are still very young players. Brandon Knight's rookie year obviously didn't get drafted in 2019, and Terrence Steele also undrafted coming off of his rookie season. So still very young, lots of experience, and theoretically time. I think, we probably don't do enough of a good job in terms of applauding the job that Joe Philbin did with this offensive line, battling all the injuries that they did in 2020. But I think this is also important to look at from a financial, aspect, especially if the Cowboys do wind up paying Dak Prescott like they should. Pay Dak, please, Cowboys. You're going to need an influx of young, legitimate, star caliber talent along the offensive line because you've already lost Travis Frederick. You are now on the precipice, seemingly, of losing Tyron Smith. Who knows what the situation is with La'el Collins? You're going to have to make a decision someday soon on Connor Williams. Zach Martin isn't going to play forever. And so, yeah, I think if the Cowboys walk away with either Sewell or Slater with the 10th overall pick, I will not be mad. It's not as fun. It's not as sexy as CeeDee Lamb, obviously, in the first round last year. But this is a smart pick. This is, it's not quite socks for Christmas, but this is an investment in the future. I mean, take a look. Rashaan, again, very good at Northwestern here. Hard to say that this is, somebody that the Cowboys would be fools for taking. I mean, we know that the Cowboys like to run the ball. Hopefully that's something they do get away from philosophically. But overall, if you can find legitimate depth, it's one of the hardest things to find, offensive line depth in the NFL, especially at the tackle position. Go ahead and do that. And I think that would tell us a lot about how the Cowboys view their future, right? Do they, and I'm not saying that the selection of Sewell or Slater would necessarily suggest, hey, we want to run the ball 35 times a game with Zeke, feed Zeke, blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying. But it would be kind of a statement, I suppose, in the sense of getting back to what helped the Cowboys be successful in terms of establishing that unit up front, giving Dak Prescott all the protection in the world that they can afford to give him. But you do have to add to the defensive side of the ball. We will cover defensive options for the Cowboys, obviously, in the first round and beyond that, because this team does need a lot of help defensively. But to say they don't need any help offensively, I think would be a lie. And I think we'd be lying to ourselves if we said the Cowboys can just show up in 2021 with the same offensive group they had and they'll be totally fine, because because, again, this offensive unit was ravaged by injuries, and this is football. This is the NFL. People are going to get hurt. Your plan A, B, C, D, and sometimes E and F are all going to be tested, and you're going to have to throw out various multiple combinations along the offensive line. And so if you can add another premier talent, a premium offensive tackle, again, especially a tackle, we'll talk about a guard in a little bit. I mean, there are worse ways to handle that. Now, these picks are, again, I mentioned not socks for Christmas, but they're safe. They're safe. They're smart. They're strategic. They're laying up on, a long par 4 type thing, right? This next player that we're going to talk about, this is, to call it a luxury, I don't think would quite categorize it, but it is definitely living a different type of life, and you likely know the player I'm talking about, especially if you are of the Team 40 Burger variety. Kyle Pitts, Florida tight end. Worth mentioning, by the way, Florida lost to Texas A&M. That's right. Put some respect on the Fighting Texas Aggies. But in all seriousness, there aren't many players like Kyle Pitts that come along in the NFL draft every year. He is a dynamic tight end. He is very special. And if you are, somebody who hits on 20, right? I mean, this is your pick, right? And there is a level of logic to this. There's no question that the Cowboys taking Kyle Pitts would be the most fun possible pick that they could make. There's no question. This would be incredibly fun. Think about from a skill position standpoint. Think about when the Cowboys would be in 11 personnel. You'd have Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, obviously. You'd have whatever 5 offensive linemen are there at the moment. You'd have Ezekiel Elliott, I suppose, and you'd have Kyle Pitts. I mean, who's covering this? I mean, honestly, like name a defense in the NFL that is covering this effectively. And that's because the Cowboys have, 2 legitimate options at tight end in Blake Jarwin, who's returning from injury, and Dalton Schultz, who had a really nice year in lieu of that. I mean, would this be the best tight end room in the NFL? I mean, honestly, like that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but I mean, Travis Kelce obviously kind of individually elevates, the Kansas City tight ends room, but I mean, on average, this would be, the Cowboys would honestly, on average, have one of the best wide receiver groups and tight end groups throughout the entire NFL. And if you subscribe to the idea, like I do, that Dak Prescott is a top 5 to 7 quarterback, you are enhancing what is already one of the best offenses in the NFL and really just kind of adding the NOS past 5th gear. I mean, this is something that would be special. I mean, I don't have to, I don't think I have to sell you on this. Take a look at Kyle Pitts, obviously an incredible player, an incredible vertical option, somebody who just knows how to be a baller. I mean, and this is in the SEC. I mean, it just means more. And seriously, I mean, hey, shout out, here we go, Texas A&M, baby, who won this game? But look, I mean, this is a red zone monster. And while I love, what the Cowboys have available to them at the wide receiver position, this is a true, red zone, go up and get it, baller beast. But he's also capable of doing damage in the middle of the field, which really deserves a lot of credit and a lot of merit and a lot of consideration. If that's, if you're not considering this with the 10th overall pick, I don't think you're being fair, because while it might not be the most responsible thing from an overall perspective, all right, it might be the most responsible thing from an overall perspective. Think about this, because let's look at last year's draft as an example. The Cowboys had a need at their wide receiver position, not in a in-your-face way, but they certainly did, and that's why they took CeeDee Lamb. Would you have rather them taken Kayvon Chase on because they needed an edge rusher? Like, looking back on this with a year's worth of data, would you rather them have taken an edge rusher in the, just for the sake of taking an edge rusher to fill a need? And I'm not saying that, Patrick Surtain or whoever is simply filling a need for the Cowboys, because, again, we've been screaming forever, you have to invest on the defensive side of the ball if you're the Cowboys. But it is honestly not just, possible, it's honestly probable. I would say honestly likely that Kyle Pitts could be the best overall player on the board when the Dallas Cowboys are drafting at number 10 overall. And if that's the case, I mean, if you truly follow that rhyme, follow that rhythm, follow that sequence of drafting, I don't know how you don't really think about it. And again, it would leave you imbalanced. There's no question about it. And you would kind of be running back this idea that you've been operating with for a long time, where your offense is just going to have to score 1 billion points and your defense is going to have to hold on. And that would suck, because that is clearly not enough. But it's a weird situation to be in, because it might make sense while making no sense at all. But offensively, if you're thinking about picks, to be made, if you're looking at the 10th overall pick being spent on the offensive side of the ball, there's no question that it is the most fun possible pick for the Cowboys. And in a weird way, potentially the final Infinity Stone. I mean, that's just one way to look at it. But let's move on. A less exciting pick, if the Cowboys again stick on the offensive line, if they really want to sort of beef up what they're doing. I think people would panic, certainly if this was the 10th overall pick. But out of Virginia Tech, again, I was thinking about those orange stripes on helmets a little while ago with Caleb Farley. Christiandaraso. Another name to know, and that's the point of this conversation right now, is you and I, we're discussing kind of who you need to know, names to familiarize yourself with. And obviously, everybody's going to know about Sewell and Slater, but this is one to pay attention to as well when we're talking about tackles overall in terms of ones that are available in the upcoming NFL draft. And look, again, this is a legitimate option. I mean, and I'm talking just if the Cowboys drafted him. I'm not necessarily being specific with the 10th overall pick here, but I mean, Christian is a fine tackle. I mean, and that's the thing, but I don't know that I subscribe to the idea that tackle is this massive need, but again, it is something that the Cowboys will have to address. And if that's where they want to go here, it could be worse. I guess that's the best way to say it. That's the kindest way to say it. It could be worse. But that I don't think anybody's getting pumped up. Nobody's running to buy Christian jerseys if that's the case. I mean, to be honest, and honestly, it's really rare that offensive linemen have their jerseys bought anyway. But if you're a Cowboys offensive lineman, it does kind of change the discussion. But this, I'll be real with you. This next option is probably the least enticing one, but these are 5 names to know. There's no question that the focus is on the defensive side of the ball for the Cowboys in an overall sense, but you've got to know some names. And we talked about offensive tackle being a need for the Cowboys. Offensive line, we don't know what they're going to do with Connor Williams. And like I said, Zach Martin isn't going to play forever. Deonte Brown. And look, there are certain positions that when you throw out the idea of a first-round pick being spent on them, people scoff, people roll their eyes, people say, no way, I don't want to do that in the first round, and I don't blame you. I don't want to take a guard in the first round, but the Cowboys did take Zach Martin in the first round. That worked out, and not everybody's Zach Martin. In fact, nobody is Zach Martin, but still, for the purposes of the discussion, Deonte Brown from Alabama. I mean, and let's play that out, right? I mean, say he is a Cowboy. Are they moving on from, Connor Williams isn't getting a second contract with the team, right? I mean, Joe Looney's probably moving on in free agency. So right now, at the moment we're talking, starting offensive line for the Cowboys, left to right, Tyron Smith, Connor Williams, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, Lyle Collins. If you're not landing one of the tackles that we've already talked about today, if you're landing Deonte Brown, he is your backup guard, right? Your guard center flex. With no Joe Looney in town, you're sticking with Brandon Knight as your swing tackle, perhaps. Maybe Terrence Steele really shows up nicely in training camp. I mean, that's still possible. This, again, gives you depth. That's what I'm saying. From a depth chart perspective, I do think that Deonte maybe comes in higher on the depth chart just because of the way the positions are currently structured on the Cowboys than Sewell or Slater even would, because I don't know that day one, and you might say there's no way that Brandon Knight or Terrence Steele are better than Sewell or Slater day one. They might be day one. I mean, it is the NFL after all, but look, this is the natty. I mean, look, the Deonte Brown is an option, at the very least, an option for the Cowboys. Again, this offensive line is not what it once was, and that's why we do have to explore all of the positions along it, with the exception of center, because the Cowboys did just draft one last year in Tyler Biadasz. But if they chose to go this route, I do think this is the way that most people would be upset. I think this, of the picks we've discussed today, this is the one where the Cowboys would probably lose the most amount of people, which obviously would be unfortunate. But I think it's a low likelihood that the 10th overall pick is spent on the offensive side of the ball. And honestly, if it's going to be an offensive player, it's going to be one of the top 2 tackles or Kyle Pitts. I think we can kind of narrow that down, right? I mean, anything is possible because anything is possible. But if the Cowboys go offense with the 10th overall pick, it does feel safe to say that will be the route. It does seem that defense is going to be their focus, at least should be their focus. And obviously free agency will adjust some of these decisions if they are able to land some legitimate playmakers. And they should. Cowboys, go spend some money in free agency. But these are players who you need to know, names that you need to familiarize yourself with. That's what we're here to do, tell you what you need to know. By the way, the fantastic Matt Minich, once again, will be doing some film reviews on these players to get you, caught up to speed with their specific strengths, what they do well, what their weaknesses are, etc., how the Cowboys can utilize them. But we now know, just kind of talking about these in a general sense that these aren't really firing up. I can tell, I can see you, all right? You're not like fired up. You're not feeling emotional. And I tell you, the Kyle Pitts thing would get you emotional. And look, that is one. The Kyle Pitts thing to me is Neo in the Matrix. It's red pill, blue pill. That's what Kyle Pitts is. And like you're staring two different realities in the face. And that's not quite the case with Sewell or Slater or a tackle or even Deonte Brown. But Kyle Pitts is truly one life or the other. And we'll see what the Cowboys are devoted to, obviously, and what would they do in free agency will tell us a lot about that. But, it is what it is. So those are the 5 players that we think that you need to know when it comes to the offensive side of the ball in the upcoming 2021 NFL Draft. We will, of course, visit more prospects as the offseason rolls on, as the Cowboys get closer to the 10th overall pick, as free agency rolls on. We're not going anywhere. At Blogging the Boys, we talk about America's team 24/7, 365, all the time with you, the best people in the world, our best friends, family. Bring it in. Hug right here. Right there. We did it. You and me. We did it, baby. All right. So, hey, let's get out of here. But do me a favor. Have the best day of all time. You know why? Because you deserve it. We'll see you next time.